So you're probably wondering why we're doing this on Zoom, right?
I mean, yeah, you called me.
That, and we're being cognizant of the social distancing rules.
I would put a mask on, but you're more than 6 feet away from me, so we're golden.
Not next to our screens right now. We're filming the Tip Tuesday today.
What we're trying to do here is give you tips to make you dangerous.
Right.
What are we going to film this Tuesday about?
We were having a conversation about spinnerbaits, and we thought that would be something that would be helpful to some people.
Oh, yes, because last week I always, because I love the convenience of them, use some sort of ball bearing swivel with a snap on it. I was running a buzzbait, and when you clip this onto a buzzbait and you cast it, sometimes it ends up way down here.
Yeah,
Sometimes
usually I
it
see them
ends
end
up
up on the blade.
Sometimes it ends up over here.
Yeah. And then they don't work good.
But while I was in my kayak, I thought of something. I think my dad may have told me a long, long time ago, or I just kind of thought of it again. Whoops. Check this out. You have to first have a rubber worm. And if you don't have a rubber worm, you can get one from your trailer.
Your little rubber ducky there.
This is a chartreuse power bait, gulp power worm, excuse me.
No, that's going to taste funny if you bite it off.
Anyways, all we need is a little sliver. It probably looks like a little pancake, so I'm just going to bite the smallest amount off.
How'd that
And then
taste?
guess what? I didn't taste anything because it's been out of the package for a while, but right out of the package, I bet it'd be ripe.
It's not so good.
Soaked in anise oil or some salts and yucky stuff.
It's proteins and amino acids. It works.
It'll keep COVID away.
I don't know about that. I don't think we should probably spread misinformation. That might be fake news, hashtag fake news.
So then I just took this little piece that I had in this hand, and then you can shove it over the top of that little gap, and you have to have your swivel ready because it'll slide off. And you just hook this on, and look what happened. If you can see in the light,
Yeah, she's not going anywhere.
it's not sliding anywhere. I can move this swivel left, right, up, down, and I was off fishing for the rest of the day. Have you done something like that before?
There was a technique where guys would use a rubber band from braces, like their kids had braces and they get one of them little bitty rubber bands. That works really good. And not everybody has them. If you can nab a bag of braces rubber bands, those things work great for that.
If you're an orthodontist and you're watching this video,
Send us
a little package.
7 fish need your rubber bands. I don't need them. I tie direct.
Why do you tie direct and not use this? Look how fast that was.
Yeah, it's handy. I agree. One of the things that I find people do if they run snaps, they're not particularly diligent about retying their line or checking for nicks and cuts in their line. I change lures quite a bit, and it just makes me diligent. Every time I change a bait, I just check that, the first 3 foot of my line and make sure it's not dinged up, and that helps with not losing fish to beat up line.
That's a good point, because I probably had this tied on, especially on braid. You're not experiencing reties as often, so I've probably had this on here all summer, and I do feel a little
the big thing with braid, you don't feel it as much as you do with mono, but you can see it. If it looks fuzzy, that's a section you probably want to remove. They're a bunch of fibers braided together. When you start to break fibers, they start to stick up and make it look fuzzy. So that's a good way to tell on braid.
But okay, so back to this part.
Yeah.
Why the heck do they even make these like this when I could just take this off and grab my Rad Dog over here, one of my most favorite pike baits, with the wonderful circle, clip it in, and I don't have to worry about this sliding? Why did they not just twist this little dude?
So the reason they do the twisted ones is if you're using snaps, or especially guys running leaders, almost all of your pike and musky ones will be twisted because a lot of guys will just snap them on a leader. But those open ones they call them R-bend spinnerbaits. Those are open because with your twisted, if you tie to that and then you cast, those things roll and tumble in the air. and your line will go in the crotch of that twisted part and get pinched, and it'll ding up your mono and can end up cutting your line. With
Oh, the line will
open
get
line,
way in that. It'll like wrap around that twist.
yep, and get right in behind there, and then you're pulling that line into that twist, and it'll end up cutting your line. With the R bends, the open bends that go like that and straight, when that line comes, if it twists around, when you pull on it, it just spins the knot through that, and you're just tied up direct. It doesn't have that little crotch to pinch that line. So that's the reason they do it. And it's meant mainly for guys that tie direct too. But they make a lot of cool spinnerbaits that have R bends, so you open bends. So if you do use snaps, or if you're using leaders, these are the tricks that you want to use. You had one too with monofilament, didn't you?
Oh yeah. So back before I knew this little quick handy trick that you could do in your kayak or boat ASAP, I used to just take 4 to 6 pound line, and I just tied a slip knot, and I just went around and ran around. I think I cinched it down on this post, and then that post, and this post, and that post, probably 5 or 6 times, and then it'll stay like this for about a season or two, and then it'll eventually
Yeah.
come
How
off.
long do your plastic lure, the one you made out of your trailer,
That one,
those go a while, or do they bust up after a bit?
I feel like it lasts a decent amount. I don't see myself redoing these very often, but I do. I think the reason I'm not noticing is because when I switch the bait, it probably falls off into the bottom of my kayak, and then I end up making a new one, which then causes your trailer to get shorter and shorter and shorter. So it's good to just have like if you have a bad color rubber worm or something that you think you're never going to use, just keep one of those around just for that reason.
I don't know a color that isn't your favorite.
I would say hot pink, but hot pink and fishing is my favorite.
I know what your favorite is, but I won't say it out loud because you get mad at me.
Yeah, my favorite is just this color.
Yeah, sure.
No, actually, my favorite buzzbait, this is actually, I will tell you a secret today. This is a Strike King. Correct me if I'm wrong. It's the Cavatron. It's a Bill Dan or.
Now, Cavatron is not Strike King, but that's a good buzzbait. The Cavatron is a good buzzbait. See how the holes that are drilled in there? Makes a bunch of bubbles behind it when it's running through the water.
I used to have a lot of these, and then the stores that I used to get them at stopped having them, so I got some from Tackle Warehouse. So I have this one, and I have this one, but I refer to this bait as Magic. I love this one with the black.
Yeah.
And this gold blade. And then I always use this little chartreuse trailer tail. I have tried this one here. It doesn't produce as much. I have tried even a red blade they have. But the thing about these Cavatrons, these blades sometimes squeak a little bit, and I think that helps attract fish.
Here's a buzzbait tip from an old guy. You like a buzzbait that squeaks? One of the things that we found is that a buzzbait that's broken in or been fished a lot sometimes would work a little better than one that was real brand new. And we'd go down to Truman. That's a pretty good drive, running down to Truman Reservoir, middle of Missouri from Nebraska. And what we would do on the ride down is the passenger would you maybe have 8 buzzbaits that you wanted to break in real quick. You'd hold it out the window and let that thing spin at 80 miles an hour. You didn't have to hold it out there too long. That thing would start howling on you, and then it was good to go. And you'd go to the next one and you'd break them in, just running them out the window on a highway.
That actually made it better?
Yeah, what it does is it breaks it in. After they've spun a while, they start to kind of work a little better.
Geez, I'm going to have my girlfriend hold these out the window while I drive her. That does seem like a good trick. I have found that sometimes over time my buzzbaits like widen up, or once you're taking fish out, sometimes I kind of have to pinch and hold it like this just to make sure it has a good bend.
Another thing that you could do on buzzbaits, one of the ways that guys used to tune them too, is especially if you're fishing dirty water, if you bend that together, you can bend it far enough that the blade will just barely contact the shaft.
Oh, like that.
And that thing would tick real hard. So hitting that shaft, now if you go too far, it'll stop. But if you can make it tap that, there's I think the clack spinnerbait, and
Oh,
maybe
they have those little things on them, a little thing to make it hit.
well, I think the clack is a musky sized one, and there was a Boogerman made one too. I can't remember what it was called, but where if you bent that down, it would actually hit the lead head. And I think I got one down in the basement. It's got a big spot where some of the leads wore off it. All the paint's gone, and some of the leads wore off it because it ticks when it goes around, and you just you know, it's making noise and calling them over. So that's another little tuning your bait tip. But we got a couple of good ones in this one.
Yeah.
Good stuff.
Hopefully you watch till the end, because you learned one of my favorite baits. You learned 2 little tricks. You learned why they twist these and why they don't twist these. I didn't know. I just thought these guys were dumb and these guys were smart.
No, there's a reason.